Can you?
Sorted.
Fantastic. That's great. All right. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Lunch and Learn session today. Before we get started, a quick housekeeping note. Please keep your microphones muted during the presentation to reduce background noise. Feel free to type any questions in the chat box, and we will be monitoring it throughout the session, and we'll answer your questions as we go. This session is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you afterward. Today's session is all about helping you navigate through the world of PMI certifications and making the most of your PMI membership. Whether you are new to PMI or a seasoned professional, we will cover certification requirements, how to earn and claim your professional development units, and the many benefits PMI and PMI New Zealand membership offer. We are lucky to have Mike Roberts with us today. Mike is a long-time volunteer with PMI New Zealand and training practice lead at Millpond, a leading authorized training partner. With over 17 years of experience, Mike is passionate about helping project professionals reach their full potential through practical insights and tailored training. Now, over to you, Mike.
Excellent. Thanks, Olga. And welcome along, everybody. I have a lot to share with you today, and we'll try and make sure we cover all the right things in the right amount of time, but also leave a bit of time for Q&A towards the end. So please, can I ask you into the group chat? I want to get a feel for, I guess, what you're here to learn. Are you here to learn more about what PMI membership benefits are, how to access those benefits? Is it more around understanding the differences around different certifications, or are you more looking at avenues for PDUs to maintain your certification? So just jump in the chat and I'll kick off and I'll take a look at what you're sharing with me, and I'll try and spend more time focusing on the areas that you guys want to hear about. So yes, welcome along. So I'm going to start pretty high level, talk about PMI Global, what its purpose is, and then we'll get right through to all their certifications and then right through to all things PMI NZ membership. So looking at some of the notes coming through, volunteering opportunities, membership needs, education around project management, PDUs, people who have already certifications. So cool. So as you can sort of tell by this slide and the comments in this chat, there's PMI offers a lot more than certifications. A lot of people think, or maybe their first touch towards, I guess, engaging with PMI is through to getting a certification, which is great, right? Great for getting a taste of membership, getting familiar with PMI New Zealand, and of course, getting a certification which you can add to your CV, which helps you build confidence in what you now know in project management best practice and help you hopefully deliver more successful projects. Ultimately, PMI is all about making successful projects.
Oh, you know what Lincoln today now?
Oh, I'm going to just mute a couple of people.
Please keep muted yourself.
Excellent. Cool. So we maximize project success to elevate our world as PMI's tagline. So PMI realize that organizations are in business to achieve their strategy. You do that through delivering change, and projects deliver that change. So how can PMI as an organization encourage or support or provide guidance for organizations and project professionals to deliver projects more successfully, to get their more successful change, which leads to more successful organizations. And of course, projects aren't all about organizations, it's all about our world as well. And you may have picked up in more recent years that PMI have moved away from focusing purely around project managers to project professionals. So I'm not sure what sort of role titles you have in this room here today. Hopefully there's more than just project managers on the call, but PMI is for anyone working in and around projects. And some of these sort of bullet points we'll be covering very, very shortly. So as I said before, there's a bunch of certifications which I'll touch on in more detail shortly. So people sort of get exposed to certifications. They're sought after. PMP is the world's most popular sought after gold standard project management certification. So people take a training course, they study, they take the exam, they maintain that certification over time by sort of getting PDUs, professional development units, to keep those certifications alive and active. So I guess one of the differentiators that PMI have over some other certifications is it's not just you get it once and it's with you for life. You've got to maintain or earn the right to maintain that certification going forward through professional development and ongoing engagement in the profession. And of course, through an easy way to do that is be a member of PMI Global and a member of a local chapter. There's way more opportunities than what you'll have time for to get PDUs. If anyone's struggling with PDUs and struggling getting to the end of their 3-year certification cycle and crying out for options to find information for PDUs, I'll hopefully by the end of today's call, you'll have a repertoire of information or materials which you can knock on to yeah get those PDUs you need. So your global membership, local chapter membership, projectmanagement.com, PMI acquired that at I guess maybe 10 years ago, and it's effectively this it's the Reddit of project management. So if you know what Reddit is, it's the online forum of all these different topics. Basically, what projectmanagement.com is the same sort of thing. There's lots of forums, lots of discussion, lots of webinars, lots of templates. So if you're really passionate about delivering projects and you've got a question, you can jump on there and find other people who've hopefully already asked that question and already found an answer to it. You may not be aware of the thing called the Global Executive Council. This is designed for relatively large organizations. I'm talking the Ciscos, the Petronas, the IBMs, the BHPs of the world, the Microsofts of the world to come together in support of PMI and in support of each other to collaborate and discuss what are the leading trends and challenges that we were facing as large organizations delivering projects today. So if anyone is here from a large organization and they want to know more about the GEC, I'm happy to take my details down and I'll share them at the end of today's session. And you can talk to me a bit about that. I can introduce you to some people with PMI to tell you a bit more about what's involved and the costs of being part of that sort of exclusive community. Of course, lots of thought leadership. PMI, I think, are investing more in thought leadership today than what they ever have done in the past. And I'll give you some examples of some recent articles I've produced in that sort of space. Lots of research to understand not only what projects need today, but of course what we are needing in the future to make sure that we plan today for the future before it gets here. A big focus in the recent sort of 5 or so years around power skills. Soft skills is PMI's word for the power, or sorry, power skills is PMI's word for soft skills. Of course, projects are all about people, organizations are all about people. So it's not just scope, time, and cost, the processes around that, the inputs and outputs around that. It's all about how we engage, how we motivate, how we trust all the people around us to get that job done. So lots of focus around that. Of course, being out there on the job, engaging our organizations to deliver projects, lots of experience come from that. The broader community, and the really cool thing that I like about PMI is that, again, it's not just a certification, it's not just a transaction, boom, I got my studies, got my certification, I'm going to move on with my life. I mean, there is this whole group of people out there who are passionate about projects, whether they're volunteering or whether they're just practicing, but there's always someone you can talk to. And the great thing about bit of a plug for PMI here. There's more events happening for PMI than there's ever done in the past. So if you're looking for an online call like this, or go to the local pub once a month to connect with your local practitioners, there's plenty of opportunity. And I'll give you some examples of those later on. And if you, of course, some volunteering, if you're looking for the ways to volunteer, I actually didn't mention that. I've not got that in my slides today, but I will talk a bit about volunteering before we finish. Ultimately, there's a whole big 360-degree view of or spectrum of opportunities for practitioners in and around projects. And that leads to the outcomes of us hopefully doing a better job, more successful projects, and of course, more successful organizations. Now, you may have seen a report in terms of thought leadership. PMI released a report late last year, redefining project success. So let's say 20 years ago, traditional measure of success was, did you deliver to scope, time, and cost? Okay. About 10 years ago, that was reshaped to say, have you achieved the benefits? Now what PMI is saying, I'll let you read the slide, but now what PMI is saying, actually, it's not just about scope, time, and cost and benefits. It's what are people's perceptions? Was this project worth doing? Regardless of how difficult it was, regardless of how time consuming or costly it was it worth doing? And the challenging thing, you've got different people, different stakeholders with different perceptions. So project success is no longer black and white. And ultimately, PMI is challenging us to think about our roles, let's say as project managers, to understand how we navigate, massage, manage those expectations and perceptions all the way through delivery and, of course, post-delivery as well. Ultimately, if the value gained was worth the effort and expense, then that's success in someone's eyes. Okay. So if you're involved in a PMO here, involved in a portfolio office role, or in some sort of executive role in an organization, and you're considering reviewing the success rate of projects, I challenge you to try add this sort of filter for it, to across that sort of lens of project success, and see where you come up. Because if people are really happy about what you've done and it's gone over budget and over time, you might want to still consider that a successful project. So this is sort of the current definition of success, and PMI have sort of released this more. It's a vision for the profession, so it's more than their strategy, and it's an acronym which stands for Manage Perceptions, Own Project Success Beyond Project Management Success, Relentlessly Reassess Project Parameters, and Expand Perspectives. So to break that down very, very quickly, what that means is manage perceptions. As I said before, it's all about stakeholders and what their views are. So this is where change management comes into play. And if I'm a betting person, I haven't actually read earlier release of PMBOK version 8 coming out in December this year. But I imagine there's a lot more around change management in there. And also the next biggest change with, say, the PMP exam and the CAPM exam will be around change management as well. That's what I'm thinking. Own project success beyond project management success. So again, it's not just around scope, time, and cost. It's a lot bigger than that. Relentlessly reassess project parameters. This is a bit of a nod to the fact that projects are just forever changing. We've got so much uncertainty. So no matter what we sort of lock in at the beginning through our business case and our project charter, don't just assume that's exactly what's the need is all the way through. Make sure we constantly reassess what we're delivering and what's right in today's market versus what was right maybe 6, 12 months ago. Now, of course, expand perspective. Don't just focus on the timelines of the project. Think about how the project impacts not only maybe the end users and the customer. How does it impact my team? How does it impact our organization? How does it impact our broader environment? Maybe even the world. There are a lot of opportunities that I think we take for granted as project managers around coordinating and planning and putting together a bit of a time frame or whatever it might be that a lot of other bodies, a lot of other organizations don't necessarily have. So how can we apply our core skills to help make a better world going forward? So yeah, think about applying project management beyond your day job. So a current level of, I guess, areas of focus for PMI are these 8 points. So PMI are constantly going to be churning out a lot of stuff around AI. If you recall back, if you've been around PMI for some time, they're a bit late to the game around Agile. Agile sort of grew a huge amount exponentially, and then PMI started absorbing Agile and thought leadership and the certifications. AI, PMI are leading the way. They've got an AI affinity tool, which I'll talk about shortly. They're doing lots of thought leadership and research around how organizations are using AI today and how it's a disruptor to not only our profession, but lots of others. Of course, PMOs, PMI acquired the PMO Global Alliance maybe 2 years ago now, and there is now a PMO certification that PMI administer. Sustainability, again, PMI just partnered with Green Project Management Organization, which is all about thinking about sustainability. How do we integrate sustainability in our practices? Product management, agile, social impact, change management, mega projects or sometimes giga projects. One of the biggest things, which is coming up on the next slide, is the amount of massive infrastructure projects happening over the next 10 years, which is going to really change the amount of demand that we have for project professionals. So yeah, you're going to start, if you haven't already seen it, you'll start to see a lot more articles, publications, research, certifications in around these 8 areas. So PMI's Talent Gap report was just released a couple of months ago in May. And ultimately what this said is there are 40 million practitioners globally right now who are project professionals. So they spend most of their working week working on projects, not just project managers, engineers, architects, whatever they might be. Ultimately, in the next 10 years, we need another 35 million. So we're almost doubling the size of the number of project professionals in 10 years to what it has been since the history of time. So that tells us, then the main reason behind that is around the amount of infrastructure, big construction projects happening, and of course the digital disruption that's going on with AI and what that means for organizations going forward. lots of change coming. So therefore, I guess you guys all on a call here today, all being linked to that project profession. It's exciting. It's going to be challenging. We probably all feel like we're busy enough today. That's only going to get worse. So we should start learning to say no. But it's good to hopefully be in demand. I know the New Zealand economy, the market's not the hottest right now, but that's a short-term thing and it's going to change. So you can see there, 35,000 people we need over the next 10 years working in the project space. As a bit of a local number. So yeah, we're in a good healthy profession, I think. I assume many of you are aware of these practice guides. The PMBOK guide, of course, PMI's most popular certification. If you're having trouble sleeping, then there's a good option there. Now, in all seriousness, it's a lot easier to read than what it used to be. If anyone on the call got their PMP exam or the CAPM exam, the certification, let's say probably 5 years ago or longer, then got quite thick, very, very thick. Whereas the version 7 is a lot more, it's in color and there's some nice pictures in it, but it's a lot more easy to read. It's very much to the point. There's an agile practice guide for people who are really sort of wanting to sort of brush up or understand what is the fundamental mindset, the principles around agile. It's done in partnership with the Agile Alliance. If you're working in the BA space, you may be or may not be aware that PMI have a BA certification. They have changed the CAPM certification to have 23 or 26% of the weighting of the exam or the questions in the exam around this role of a business analyst. And ultimately, what that means, if you're not so familiar with it, is a BA's role. Sure, a BA is kind of primarily or historically being a role that's been very well established in the IT industry. But ultimately, what their role is they kind of sit between a project team and an organization and kind of are the live translation between the two parties. They understand the organization, how it works. They help map the current business process. They help map the to-be business processes. And then, of course, they then translate that in a way that makes sense to the project. And when there are project progresses going on and challenges going on, they translate that in a way that makes sense to the people who are actually living and breathing their job. So they're a real asset to an organization and a real asset to a project team. And what PMI is saying, this role is incredibly fundamental to ensure we get the right requirements to define up front, we define the right problems and opportunities to hopefully set us up for success for those right projects. And ultimately, if you don't have a BA, but generally speaking, a project manager might do a lot of the jobs. So therefore, we need to be aware and respect the need for that BA role. And you can say the same thing around change management, hence why I think there's going to be a change management practice guide. There already is, but an advancement to it in the near future. If you're beyond projects and more focused on programs and portfolios, there's a whole another standard there, or a couple of standards you can look at. If you're looking to build a competency framework for your project managers, sure, this guide's a little bit dated. It does need a refresh, but there's a vanilla, I guess, framework you could use to help define what makes for a good project manager in your organization. You can sort of compare this to Sophia skills if you use Sophia to help design like a beginner, intermediate, advanced tier in your organization. PMI just released a few months ago the practice guide for PMOs. So if you're involved in PMOs and you want some guidance around what is a good practice guide, then there's your source of information there. And of course, they've just released, or earlier this year, they released a AI transformation booklet as well. So all these things, if you're looking for PDUs, firstly, if you're a PMI member, all these things are free. Just go to pmi.org, go to the Learning tab at the top of the screen, and you'll be able to find all of these guides and publications. Digital download, easy to search through, and ultimately by reading these documents, you get PDUs. Okay, so 1 hour reading is one PDU. You don't have to read it from cover to cover. You don't have to read it 1 hour at a time. But if you download it and over the course of a week you're sort of flicking through it and you've consumed 2 hours of information from that, then you can claim 2 PDUs from reading these guides. So yeah, a lot of effort have gone into these documentation. Sure, they're all global, they're all I guess generic, but apply your own current experiences and the culture of your organization to PMI's best practice and land somewhere in the middle. Just reading the chat as I'm talking as well, so if I can keep up with anything that's pertinent right now. So GPM, Green Project Management, an organization that's been around for a wee while now, really focusing around sustainability, not just environmental, carbon emission type sustainability, broader sustainability of projects, sustainability of resources around projects, and sustainability of organizations which projects deliver to. So there's a joint venture, there's a partnership that formed now as of earlier this year, and I'm not sure if anyone on the call has any of these GPM certifications, but these will be coming under the umbrella of the PMI certifications shortly. So again, sustainability is a hot topic. It's going to continue to be a hot topic, and ultimately, if we have some fundamental understanding around how to integrate sustainable practices into our projects, then hopefully our projects will be more sustainable, which can only be a good thing. Who uses PMI Infinity here? Feel free to chuck it in the chat if you are as well. If you're not aware, so ChatGPT, Copilot, there's lots of different generative AI tools. So PMI have their own version. They've got basically a PMI projectized flavor of OpenAI's platform, and you can use this to ask a whole bunch of questions. So, there's typical chat. So I can say, right, how do I go about initiating a project? I mean, this is obviously pretty generic question. But what this does, what this AI tool does, is it bases information on PMI's massive library of project management best practice and standards. Okay, so what that means is the information is project specific, it's vetted and it's high quality. It's not just sort of made up, fabricated articles which haven't been vetted or don't have an appropriate level of, I guess, quality around the authorship. So if you've got project specific questions which you're leaning on an AI engine to provide you with, then this tool's available to you. Yes, it is free for members. I can't remember what it costs for Copilot, maybe like $60 a month, and maybe ChatGPT is probably $50 a month. This is free for members. So if you're already paying your global membership, then you've already got access to this. And the nice thing about this, it gives you the clear sources of where it came from. So whether it's a global standard, it's from their learning library, whether it's from their thought leadership articles, or even projectmanagement.com. There's lots of information that's in here. There's some cool tools in here as well. I mean, it's still early days. There's a tool to help you create a project charter, a tool to help you create a risk management plan. If I give you a quick, very, very quick demo of this project charter, you can get started. And I filled in this information about half an hour ago. So I was building a new sky tower in Auckland. I put some details around the description, start date. Here's my name. It's a fake email address. You basically fill through. You fill in some boxes effectively around your scope, your budget, your time frames, your milestones, your risks and issues, just like you would in any other template you're filling out. But I put pretty minimum information in here. And when I hit submit, it produced this document here for me, which you can freely download, put on your own branding. And it basically says, right, I'm developing a sky tower. I didn't write this. AI wrote this, okay? Talked about the Auckland Central Business District, driven by the need for enhancing the skyline, state-of-the-art facility. I wrote none of that. So basically, PMI assumed what I was meaning, what the value of the sky tower was, and produced this for me. It came up with, I put some base objectives in there. It sort of enhanced them with a bit more words, made it a bit flashy. Broke it down in terms of inclusions of scope, outer scope, major deliverables, stakeholders. I put the names in, and they put in their, I guess, key focus areas. So of course you've got to review this and update it based on what each stakeholder's focus areas are. But it's good to have a bit of an idea around, what sort of things people might care about. Here's myself and a couple of my colleagues in here, and these aren't their roles, but it fabricated that for me. I put some initial milestones in there, some budgets in there. And I put some risks, but it's extended out with a bit more detail. But it's, relatively quickly spun up a start of a project charter. Sure, you review it from top to, I mean, I wrote none of this. Infinity wrote this for me. And you start here, you've done probably, it's consumed, maybe it's avoided maybe an hour of work, maybe half an hour of work, where you can review this and tweak it as need be, chuck your own branding on it, and then submit that to your sponsor. Says, can I have $2 million, please, to build a sky tower in Auckland? Or something like that, okay? So have a bit of a play. The more you play with AI, the more comfort you'll get. And of course, the more you'll be aware of what else you can do with AI. There's some guided experience as well around, doing some ESG reporting, leading projects effectively, sustainability in here, doing a PMO customer assessment. So you click on one of these, and it'll guide you through excuse me, a bunch of steps to navigate. Instead of writing in prompts, it basically does the prompts on your behalf, which you just then top it up. Again, RTM, Requirements Traceability Matrix. If you've never done one of those before, you can click on that and it'll say, right, it's already given you the prompt. It's working on it. And it's going to spin up a draft RTM. And then you can just copy and paste that and start filling with your own details. So it's a really cool project-specific AI tool. And again, if you remember, it's free. So knock your socks off. I'll leave this QR code up if you want to scan that for a few seconds on your phone before I move on to the next slide. Going back to projectmanagement.com, a quick sample. This is a screenshot. They have on-demand webinars, filtering by the topic of AI. There's already 2,200 webinars on AI. If you want some PDUs, that's a lot of hours of content for PDUs, okay? Look, different
Mike,
topics around certain examinations, power skills, if you want different languages, whether it's free or you pay for it beyond your subscription. So yeah, lots of information on projectmanagement.com. You log into PMI website, it's the same account, same credentials, there's a bit of a pass-through authentication. So happy days. Right.
Mike, if you can hear me, there's Jane's got a question there on chat.
Do you think AI will impact the demand for PMs? Good question, Jane. I think the AI will make PMs or free PMs up, avoid the administrative overhead we have, and I guess enable us to focus more on the more delicate, the more fragile part of project, which is the people. We can get out there, meet people, discuss their concerns, understand what's going on, actually see the wood for the trees, and AI can help just keep us, I guess, focused where the important things are. So I don't think this is going to change the demand. I really don't. I think projects are so delicate or so fragile, and whatever you do, there'll always be a need for someone to drive, to report progress. Sure, AI can do a lot of manual reporting, but taking that reporting based on what the data says and applying some instinct to it, applying some logic to it, some gut feel to it, to ensure that the right discussions are being had on this output that's come from AI. So I don't think so. I hope I'm not proven wrong, but we can see in due course. Right, certifications. So there is a lot of certifications, and there's going to be more certifications coming out in the next couple of years from PMI as well, as I suggested. Now, to go through these quite quickly, I've seen a few comments around people wanting to know about certifications, so I'll try and touch on these equally. But if you've got some targeted questions, put it in the chat. If we have time, I'll answer it here and now. If not, I can stay on the line later on, or we can set up another call to talk further. So starting from left to right, CAPM, Certified Associate in Project Management. So if you're in the room now and you wanted to sort of validate or grow your existing limited experience and knowledge in project management, here's where you start, CAPM. Originally, it was designed as a stepping stone certification for those people who wanted to prove to themselves or their employer or their colleagues or their future employer that they know best practice project management, but didn't quite have the experience to get the gold standard certification being PMP. But speaking from, I guess, professional experience, we train not a lot, but a number of people who are managers of PMs, maybe executives, who want to have a global certification in project management because they respect the importance of project management, but don't need the level of effort required or the rigor required to get their PMP. So they're happy with the CAPM. So don't see it as a temporary certification. A lot of project coordinators are project coordinators for life, and they get the CAPM, that's all they need. Okay, so it's, if you pass high school or any other tertiary qualification beyond high school, all you need is 23 hours of education. Okay, it's not a easy exam, it's not a difficult exam either. So it just takes you through all things best practice, traditional aspects of project scope, time and cost, the role of the project manager, the sponsor. It talks about agile and traditional ways of working, so you walk away with a good, I guess, approach agnostic understanding of project delivery, and of course that business analysis function or role as well. PMP probably hopefully needs no real introduction. It's been around the longest. It's the most sought after certification. Ultimately, you'll see most job applicants, job postings out there, when they're looking for a senior PM, it'll likely say desirable PMP certification. As you can see there are two criteria. If you have a degree, it says 4-year degree there, but it also says bachelor degree in the requirements. So ultimately, a lot of bachelor degrees here in New Zealand are only 3 years, which is fine. So if you've got a 3-year bachelor's degree, and you have that means that the only 3 years of experience of managing projects, plus.
The thing
Sorry,
about
Joe?
wing boxes is very easy to screw things up.
Sorry, I missed that. Joe, are you talking to me, or is that just a mute by accident? Okay, I'll carry on. So yeah, a 3-year degree plus 35 hours education, which also leaves you with 3 years of experience required, where you're basically in a role managing a project. What that means is people reporting to you, and you've got constraints around scope, time, and cost, and you're producing some sort of unique result. If you do not have a degree, then PMI are trading that for 2 years of experience. So no degree, 5 years of experience, what they're after. That experience must be within the last 8 years, because what it means to get a PMI certification, it's recent experience. The PMI don't want people to, walk away with their PMP certification having been a project manager 30 years ago. Things change. PGMP and PFMP, they're sort of the next tiers above, program management and portfolio management. Now, the challenge here is these two certifications aren't that popular. They're good certifications. I guess the knowledge, the practices required to learn to be able to get the certifications are valid. But the challenge here is the eligibility is quite tough. 48 months of program management experience or 48 months of portfolio management experience. Generally speaking, once you've been a portfolio manager for that long or a program manager for that long, you tend to sort of focus on the pains and tribulations of managing that portfolio and that program. And that experience trumps certifications. So, I guess my personal view is I feel like PMI should lower the eligibility for these certifications to catch the PM's transitioning between project manager to program manager or program manager to portfolio, but they're not quite there yet. They're wanting to maintain a high threshold to ensure the certifications carry that top tier value. But I guess, challenge with that, it does stump the uptake rates. But if you want to talk more about those, happy to chat. So they are what PMI call core certifications. Industry agnostic, ultimately they are generalized across all different ways of working to mean that you can sort of float from organization to organization with some core common best practice. Ultimately, PMI are suggesting you maybe get one of these first, and then once you get one of these, then you can focus on a specialist certification, which is any of these ones here. They've just released an AI certification, and guess what? There are no prerequisites. So if you want to look at some of the PMI thought leadership, there's a whole bunch of little PMI mini courses which are free for members as well. Again, free PDUs. You can go on, do those free mini courses first, and then go forward and work towards your certification. Construction, PMI felt there is an opportunity to help improve the success rates of construction projects. I don't have the stats top of mind, but the construction industry could avoid wasting billions of dollars globally a year with more improved practices around formal project management. So what happened over COVID is a bunch of people from the likes of BHP, Petronas, US Army, a whole bunch of massive mega infrastructure organizations got together and created this panel, and they define what the key drivers or the key challenges are for delivering construction projects in today's environment. Those 7 or 8 key challenges turned into the base of their new PMI CP certification. So to get that, 3 years of construction project management experience and complete 4 construction specific modules around trying to think top of my head. There's interface management, there's communication management, there's contract and risk management, and scope and change order management. So sort of 4 key topics which are very focused on construction. There's a little bit of overlap between that content and PMP. So if you go from PMP to PMI CP, a little bit of overlap, but it goes deeper into different sort of verticals, which is beyond what we have time for on PMP. ACP, it's been around a while. So I've looked at ranking globally, PMP top certification, CAPM second, PMI ACP third. For a long period of time across the 2010s, it was PMI's fastest growing certification. And ultimately, it is agnostic again of roles. So this is not, sure, it's designed for agile ways of working, but it doesn't matter whether you're a PM, a product owner, a developer, a tester, a business analyst. If you're working in agile, then this certification will give you a great broad view of the mindset, the principles, many different methodologies such as Scrum, XP, Kanban, Lean, and walk away with a good understanding of around how agile works and why it's so different to traditional approaches. PMO, one of PMI's, again, newer certifications that came out this year. High school plus 3 years of project-related experience plus 10 hours of PMO-specific education. There's a lot of online learning through PMI now. There's a lot of online learning through Udemy. Some local ATPs and international ATPs do PMO or governance, portfolio management type training, which qualifies you for that PMO CP application. RMP is PMI's fourth most popular certification, Risk Management Professional. It's been around for a wee while, but in the last 3 years, a little bit of a surge in interest. And I think that's because risk is becoming a pretty common topic across, I guess, organizations and practitioners globally. A couple of options there, very similar to PMP, around whether or not you have a degree or not. So yeah, risk management, very focused. If you're a risk professional and you spend most of your time in an organization focused about risk, that's the certification for you. And similar thing around PMI PBA as well. Now, if you're wondering, there was a SP, scheduling professional. If you're a Gantt chart person and you do schedules for organizations, interesting, the certification does technically still exist, but it's not easily visible on PMI's website. So what that means to me is at some point they maybe got to phase that out or blend that in with another certification. So if you've seen that and you're wondering why it's not up on the screen here, that's the reason why. Any quick questions about any of those certifications you want to throw at me? While you're typing, this is what you want. Yeah. Choose a certification, you go through your study plan, you sit your exam, and you get this sort of report. This is a pass from a PMP graduate. As you can see here, the PMP exam is broken down by 3 domains: process, scope, time, cost, risks, etc. People, all about motivation, relationships, leadership, and business environment, all about their culture, all about their governance, all about the constraints we work around. They got above target in all those 3 areas. For all the certifications, you don't get given a percentage. There's no sort of 67% and above in a pass. You get given a grading based on these sort of 4 color schemes. Ultimately, if you get greens, happy days. If you get yellows or reds, not so happy days. If anyone on the call right now has been unsuccessful in their exam, hit me up. I'm happy to chat with you over the phone and give you my 2 cents in terms of how we can get getting you back into the exam room to get that pass you're after. The nice thing about this performance report is these domains, or these domains here and these tasks all link to an exam content outline. So you can trace back exactly where you did well in the exam and where you didn't do so well based on that linkage. So we can have a conversation if you need. If you're looking for options for training, here are New Zealand's, I guess, ATPs, authorized training partners. And what that means is PMI globally have this system, this procedure in place, which organizations can apply to go through. And ultimately, once you get the seal of approval, that implies that you have a high quality learning experience with your goal for your certification. So Mill Pond, conflict of interest here. I'm a director of Mill Pond, so just putting it out there. Just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. PM's Training School, we've got Crystal Consulting and Skills Development Group. There is one other, but they don't actively promote classes here in New Zealand. So these are the 4 active people who primarily do CAPM and PMP, which is the PMI's most common certifications, but some of them do a few more of the edge certifications as well. My personal advice is nothing beats live training, whether it's live in person or in a classroom or live online. You can't beat the time through real conversation, real Q&A, targeted advice and targeted learning based on people's needs. Sure, there are people who go through like a Udemy or another sort of e-learning type offering, which can and does work, but it's a real challenge. And if I look at some stats around the amount of people who purchase e-learning products, and this is not just PMI specific, this is globally, people who purchase e-learning topics and finish the courses, quite different ratios. So if you are very self-driven, very, I guess, very time-focused and manage your time very, very well, e-learning can work. But the reality is the nice thing about signing up for a course, such as one of these providers offer, is you're locking in some time in your diary every given week to turn up, to commit, to force yourself to focus on this learning. Because the reality is, I'm sure people in the room can relate to this, this is no walk in the park. You need to commit to working towards a certification, and that's on purpose because PMI want to make sure that these certifications actually mean something. It's, if they're easy, then they'll be worthless. So the fact that you guys in the room, some of you have a certification, it means you've actually done a lot of deep soul searching, a lot of effort to actually walk through that process, sit that exam, which is a challenge, and of course pass. And that relief you get, the email you get when you say, congratulations, you're now PMP certified, that's a pretty happy email you get. I completed a course of project management in Auckland University. Do I need to go through further training for the PMP test application? So great question. Now, the certification courses that these people offer, they are certification preparation courses. I myself went to a tertiary institution and got a graduate diploma in project management. Now, that was aligned to the PMBOK guide. It wasn't a complete, I guess, replica of the PMBOK guide. But it covered probably on 60% of what I needed to know for when I was going for my CAPM exam. So it really depends on whether or not the university content of that qualification is aligned to the information you need to sit the exam. Like project management is project management. Ultimately, let's take PMP for example, because that's your question. PMP is made up of understanding what is good practice around starting projects, planning projects, executing projects, monitoring, controlling projects, and closing projects. It's all about scope, time, cost, quality, risk, resources, procurement, stakeholders, communication. It's also about people, so leadership. It's about motivation. It's about what I said before around building trusts, rewards and recognition. It's about motivational theories. It's about team buy-in, team agreements. So it's quite a broad, I guess, summary of all things project management. So I guess the short way to answer the question is I'd be surprised if you can do a University of Auckland course and then immediately sit the PMP exam. There will be a delta there. How big? I don't quite know. Feel free to give me a call and we can chat through the contents of your qualification and I can work out whether or not there's a good overlap or not between what we deliver in the classroom. One exam I never want to do again. Thanks, Brett. It's why, yeah, definitely it's something you want to hold on to. Once you get your certification, you don't let it lapse because, yeah, it definitely will take a lot of time and effort. Okay, PMI have just released about a month ago a new app. It's the PMI official mobile app. It's specifically for people who have certifications who want to make it easier to maintain the certifications. So as you can see here, this little screenshot, this person's name is Parker. He has the PMP certification and he needs 28 more PDUs of the 60 to be able to renew his certification. So it gives you your counter where you're at, tells you when you need to do it by, so it's nice and there with a click of a button. The nice thing about this, it also links you through to PDU offerings and whether you can filter whether they're free courses or whether they're paid courses, and ultimately you can quite quickly find opportunities to top up your PDUs. There's also a link in the app which allows you to then manually log PDUs. Let's say you go to a PMI New Zealand chapter event, you can click on a link, put in the event code, and it'll automatically populate that PDU credit against your profile here. So it's pretty seamless. It's a little bit, it's still new. So there's a little bit of a few areas where it hops through to the website rather than staying locally within the app, but it's miles ahead of what it used to be, having to manually log into the website, into the CCRS portal to log things manually. So yeah, works quite well. If you haven't already got it, download it now. There's a QR code. Great way to not to only maintain your certification, but also find opportunities for PDUs as well. Just a couple more slides. One thing that I wasn't aware of until last week, there's a thing called a Career Navigator. Now, PMI have had this for a wee while now. I would say this is more aimed at younger project professionals rather than people who have been working in projects for 10 years. Or maybe if you're thinking you want to change to a different role, maybe you're currently a project manager and you want to become a PMO manager or a portfolio manager in the future, then you can go through and effectively fill out a whole bunch of details around your experience to date, your career status, what current skills you're strong at, what certifications you have, your ambitions and your preferences, and ultimately it uses a bit of AI to basically create a roadmap for your career. And you can put in things around what sort of salary you want, what sort of where you want to work, what sort of roles you like to sort of be associated with, and it'll give you some suggested PMI, I guess, avenues, not only certification but also thought leadership articles to review and bits and pieces you can do to try and help hopefully make strides in that direction where you're going. So you can just, it's free for members, PMI.org, or just Google PMI a Career Navigator, and you'll find this page here. So coming back to PMI New Zealand, look, if you're not so familiar with us, there are, I'm going to put Carol on the spot here. Carol, hey, thanks, geez. How many volunteers do we have roughly nationwide right now?
We're hitting the 60 mark.
volunteers.
And again, because, PDUs, we have a lot more, conference, we had a lot of people. So it fluctuates, of course. And then we've got all our branches and our SIGs.
Nice one. Thanks, Carol. So we've got 60 people plus giving up a few hours a week, the evenings, the weekends, to come together to try and help grow this New Zealand presence of PMI and to provide some element of value for practitioners and projects. As you can see here, we have representation most up and down the country. Some branches, of course, are smaller than others. Definitely the main centres around Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch are the busiest, but then the regions are sort of popping up as well. Special interest groups. So Olga, she runs the Boardman Project Management Group. I run the Leaders and Project Delivery Group with COSAM. There's a day of service, which PMDOS, which Carol mentioned, which is I've been volunteering with PMI for 13, 14 years now. And I did my first day of service maybe 2 years ago. And my reflection after that day is that's the most value I have got out of PMI by turning up on a Saturday and spending my time helping local charities on skills that I take for granted as a project manager that these charities were so incredibly grateful for. So if you've got a free Saturday, look at your local nearest PMDOS event, and I guarantee you'll get warm butterflies from giving up the time and helping people who are in desperately need and appreciative of your services. There's a construction group, sustainability group, mentoring is just kicking off as well. So I met my business partner through a PMI-NZ mentoring program. It's started to be relaunched. So there was a session, I think last night, maybe, Carol? Yep. And so stay tuned for more information. If you're keen about being a mentor or becoming a mentee, then PMI, again, it's a service that you can engage with by being a member of PMI-NZ. And there's also Insights podcast. So if you want to tune into a podcast on a regular basis on all things project management, that's happening as well. Annual conference, second one since COVID. So last one was Wellington last year. This year it was in Auckland. Stay tuned for the time and location for next year. We have annual awards, which is effectively the Oscars of project management in New Zealand. So red carpet, fancy suits and dresses, and 3-course meal, and really sort of celebrating some cool success in project management nationwide. And there are some financial benefits around if you're a contractor looking to get liability indemnity insurance through Aon. If you travel a lot through Quest, 10% off best available room rates. And of course, because of the partnership with ATPs, you get 10% off all certification courses from those partners I showed you earlier today. And there is, if you click on this Humanitics link, by the way, we'll send you these slides after today. There's a lot of events happening online, on location. Some of them are hybrid. So stay tuned to this website. It's going to get better integrated with the PMI.org website eventually. But ultimately, we run all our events through Humanitics. And you can register here, again, free for members. Hooray! There's a small fee if you're not a member. But ultimately, again, PDUs, an hour-long event is 1 PDU. So there's no excuse not to have PDUs. Oh, by the way, if you volunteer with PMI-NZ, you get PDUs as well. I've got more PDUs than what I can do. So I can't share any with you, unfortunately, but there's plenty of opportunity. Yes, you will get PDUs for this, Doug. I'll give you one. How does that sound? Yay! Good deal. I'll trade your lunch for one PDU. All right, that's everything I wanted to share with you today. That's a massive blah, all things PMI, and hopefully that's sort of filled in some little holes you may have had. But I want to spend the next 10 minutes open floor chat. Any targeted questions you've got, If I can answer them now, or if Carol or Olga can, we will. If not, we'll take a note and we can come back to you.
Mike is asking if, sorry, Michael asking, Mike, can you give me your email address? Michael, we will share Mike's email address after this session. It will be shared with everyone.
There's my contact details, people who want to reach me after this call. So, Thelina, I'm planning to do CAPM exam and would like to know what is the best way to reach out to a mentor for support. Whereabouts are you based, Thelina? I guess my immediate option would be...
Hey,
hello?
Mike, thanks. I'm based in Auckland.
Auckland. All right. Can I see... Let me just stop sharing for a second. When's the
Mike,
next Auckland event? Yes.
Mike, the email address for the mentoring is mentoring@pmi.nz. If the person wants to contact them and say, hey, I'd like a mentor to help, we might be able to assist with that.
Super. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
And there's plenty of PMP certified practitioners in Auckland as well. And one of the great opportunities is go to the next Auckland event. I'm just trying to work out. It's on the 7th of August. So let me just share my screen with you again. So unlocking PMO potential, University of Auckland on 7th of August at 5:30 p.m. So if I'll copy this and put this in the chat in a second. But if you click on that link, register for that event, go to the event, and ultimately start to find people who have done their certification and start asking them what sort of advice they've got for you in terms of their path for studies, and maybe they've got some resources they can share with you as well. There's lots of just general advice here. There's lots of information online. Lots of YouTube videos, lots of apps you can get on your phone. Now, the CAPM exam changed quite a lot in, please hold, 2023, July 2023. So if you come across some content that was uploaded online before July 2023, don't focus on it so much. Look for content in the last couple of years. It's changed a lot in terms of bringing more agile into it, bringing more people side of things, and also the whole BA space wasn't there before July 2023. So search stuff online, just make sure it's recent, and it should be a good base source. You can go to Amazon.com and buy a CAPM exam prep book if you're looking to do it, at low cost. They might cost you maybe a couple $100. It's effectively designed to be a classroom and a book. And beyond that, that's when you start to pay for online learning, or sorry, online training or classroom training, which goes into about the $2,000 to $3,000 mark. So if you're self-funded, that's out of reach for some people, but there are lots of opportunities online for low-cost study options. Same for PMP exam as well. Yep. Oh, Terry, it feels that, especially in government, Prince 2 carries greater weight than PMP in recruitment. What's being done by PMI to change that view? My view has changed, and I mean, Carol is in Wellington. She can talk to this about her views in a moment. I feel like there's a shift there, and there's been a shift for the last 5 or 6 years. In the past, so to rewind the clock, Prince 2 being part of the UK government, us being part of the Commonwealth, EY or Deloitte, one of the big four, promoted Prince 2 to Australian and New Zealand governments. And being a government department, it's all about avoiding risk, and there's a chance for certainty by getting all our people Prince 2 trained. Great, we'll get the certainty, we won't have any failed projects. That's not how it works, unfortunately. I used to work for Stats NZ, and they sent us all on Prince 2 training courses. I was running a Scrum project, and I'm thinking, I'm in this classroom, why am I learning this methodology when I'm completely delivering a separate methodology? That was 15 years ago. So over the last, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, 10 years, organizations have shifted a lot, and sometimes they took up a bunch of agile methodologies, but more so they're actually creating their own methodologies, their own ways of working. So organizations are saying getting a certification which is based on a framework which is methodology agnostic, there is more value in that. So people are turning to the likes of PMI and APM, which is a UK government, UK organization, for methodology agnostic certifications. That's not to say there is still a level of value and focus around Prince 2. If people come to me and say, should I get my Prince 2 and my PMP? My first question is, do you work in an organization that uses Prince 2, Or do you want to work in an organization that uses Prince2? If the answer is yes, then get your Prince2. If the answer is no, then I think personally the better value you have is to broaden your horizons, broaden your understanding around all best practice project management rather than the best practice of a certain methodology. But in saying that, the final thing I'll make is, so two things. From our courses point of view, if I wear my Millpond hat for a second, we're starting to see government departments come onto PMP courses and also for CAPM courses as well. So that has changed in the last 5 years. But also the other thing to bear in mind, it's not one or the other. It's not as if you just have to have one certification and that's all that matters. You know, I think that we should be open to all walks of life and all ways of working. And to actually have, say, a PMP, a Prince2, and Certified Scrum Master, that makes you a pretty knowledge powerful practitioner in the world of projects. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Do you need to earn different types of PDUs to meet different minimum requirements, or are there any and all PDUs accepted? So if you have multiple certifications, getting PDUs for one certification transfers to them all. So it's not as if you have to have, so PMP, 60 PDUs, for PMI ACP, 30 PDUs. You don't need 90 PDUs. Ultimately, getting your 60 for your PMP also applies for your ACP. Those PDUs are based on that what do they call it? The
Triangle.
Yeah, the skills triangle or whatever it's called, which I mentioned
Talent
earlier
triangle.
today. Yeah, which is your power skills, your business acumen, and your ways of working, which is your process side of learning. So you have to have some level of learning across those three angles, but it's relatively easy to apply once you look at your portal and start to record your PDUs.
Cheers, Mike. That was my question. I just wanted to check because I still struggle to make sense of it. I've read the guidance, so thanks for sharing the talent triangle, whoever that is. But there's like giving back and there's education. Now,
yes.
does it have to be split across the two because there's minimums for some, or can it be all education or all giving back? I'm trying to make sense of that.
Yeah. Please hold.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a bit of a mix. You can do more of one thing than the other, but it is good to have a good mix of things. So if you can spread it around, that's always best.
Maybe I'll ask PMI Infinity. That'll know, won't it?
That's true. But let me just share this with you. And I'll flick you through this link afterwards. But ultimately, there are some education PDUs, which is training courses, branch meetings from PMI, webinars, reading materials, informal learning like mentoring, coaching on topic lunches like this one here. And then, of course, giving back as well. By being a project manager, you can claim 8 PDUs per cycle. Okay, so there's 8 of your 25. Creating content. If you do lessons learned on your project and you capture that lessons learned and share that with other project teams, your organization, that's an example of giving back. By being a mentor, that's an example of giving back. By volunteering, that's an example. It doesn't have to be PMI and Z. It could be if you volunteer for Plunkett, or it could be women's suffrage, or any sort of community event where you are applying some sort of project role. That's all examples of giving back. So you require a maximum of 25s and a minimum of 35 for education. So ultimately, what people generally do is they focus on getting that first and then working out how many further you need to get your giving back PDUs. But I'll flick you through this link. You can have a read of that, and hopefully that might help make it a bit more sense for you, Doug. Can we get the latest mock test for PMP certification? PMI do not release official exam questions, but there are mock ones available. Now, by going with an ATP, a premier ATP, they are licensed to share with you the most official ISC exam questions that exist because they've been written by the same people with the same process that the actual exam questions have gone through. Or you can also purchase a thing called PMI Study Hall or PMP Study Hall through the PMI website. It costs you $99 or $49 US to get a good sample, a good chunk of official PMI clone questions. Beyond that, you can buy textbooks all written by third parties, or there's YouTube videos with, again, third-party people creating their own questions. So lots of information out there. I can flick you through a couple of quick links to some ones that I'm aware of before we exit this call in 1 minute, and that might be a bit of a starter for 10 for you. Yeah, being on a school board, giving back, I think that accounts as around governance. I'd definitely put that in. If you got to shoot, thanks for joining in today. Hopefully it's been somewhat beneficial. If you're happy to stay on and you want to talk to me through this call, I've got half an hour, so happy to stay on and chat. But yeah, just want to close it off today, say thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.